Elias Vance had never considered himself a man of leisure. A pilot in the United Earth Fleet, his life was usually measured in mission logs, coordinates, and the hum of starship engines. Yet tonight he found himself walking through the crowded streets of the Orion sector's central hub, wearing clothes that were not uniforms, boots that did not echo in a ship's hallway, and carrying a curiosity that had nothing to do with galactic maps. The city was alive with lights and chatter. Neon signs flashed in a symphony of color above sleek cafes. Hollow billboards projected advertisements for interstellar vacations, and the aroma of freshly baked bread mixed with the faint metallic tang of machinery. Elias wasn't usually the type to enjoy these things, but he had promised himself one evening free of duty, one evening to explore, to meet new people, to feel human. He paused outside a cafe called the Quantum Bean. Its glass walls revealed people laughing, drinking steaming beverages, and tapping away at floating data pads. Elias hesitated, glancing at his reflection in the glass. The reflection stared back at him, tired eyes softened by something like hope. "Go on," he muttered to himself. "It's just coffee. No missions, no danger, no reports." Inside, the cafe was warm. A soft hum of conversation mixed with the gentle clinking of cups and the occasional whir of hovering cleaning bots. Elias took a seat at a table near the window. He didn't know why, but something about this place felt welcoming, almost like it belonged to a story he hadn't yet lived. It wasn't long before he noticed her. She sat alone at a table across the room, her auburn hair catching the soft light of a hanging lamp. Her eyes, sharp yet kind, scanned a thick book with notes scribbled in the margins. There was something magnetic about her calm focus. Elias felt a pull he hadn't experienced in years, a feeling that wasn't excitement about a mission or pride in a successful flight, but curiosity about another human being. After several moments of hesitation, and after convincing himself that he had nothing to lose, Elias stood and walked over. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, voice casual but steady. The woman looked up, surprised for only a moment before her lips curved into a polite smile. "Sure," she said. "I don't bite." Elias chuckled softly. "Good to know. My name's Mara," she introduced herself, closing the book gently. "Elias," he replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was firm, confident but not overbearing. Something in the way she held herself suggested she had faced challenges and survived them with intelligence and grace. They talked about small things at first, the coffee, the city lights, the strange mix of smells in the cafe. But gradually the conversation deepened. Elias found himself laughing more than he had in months. Mara had a quick wit, a way of finding humor even in the most ordinary topics. She was sharp, thoughtful, and entirely genuine, qualities Elias had almost forgotten he valued in others. Just as he was beginning to wonder whether this evening could get any better, Mara leaned back in her chair and smiled. "There's something I should tell you," she said softly, her tone calm but certain. Elias raised an eyebrow, a flicker of apprehension crossing his face. "Oh? What's that?" Mara took a small breath. "I'm a mom. My son, he's 5. The words hit him like a meteor through space. For a moment, Elias froze, blinking in disbelief. He had expected many things tonight: a pleasant conversation, perhaps a new friend, maybe even a spark of attraction. But parenthood? That had not entered his mind. "Oh," was all he could manage, simple, unprepared, utterly human. Mara's eyes searched his for a reaction. She seemed unbothered by his surprise, almost as if she had expected it. "I understand if that changes things," she said gently. Elias shook his head, trying to gather himself. "No, it's just, I didn't see that coming," he admitted. A small smile tugged at his lips. "But it's not a bad thing, just unexpected. Mara's smile widened. "Unexpected is good," she said. "It keeps life interesting." There was a brief pause as Elias processed her words. The idea of a child had always seemed distant, almost abstract. His life had been consumed by duty, adventure, and the endless expanse of space. He had never thought about small, quiet lives tethered to ordinary routines. And yet, looking at Mara, he could feel the warmth, the care, and the responsibility she carried. And he realized that the challenge intrigued him. "You'll have to introduce me sometime," he said finally, his tone lighter now, teasing just a little. "I want to meet him. If I survive the first encounter, of course." Mara laughed, the sound soft and musical. "You might be surprised. He's not exactly shy around strangers, especially if he likes them." For a moment, Elias imagined the scene. A small, curious boy with bright eyes, asking him countless questions about spaceships, stars, and alien worlds. The thought made him nervous, yet something in him stirred. There was a spark of excitement, the same thrill he felt before a daring mission. But this one was human, intimate, and far more unpredictable. They spent the next hour talking about their lives. Mara spoke of her work as a xenobiologist, her research into alien ecosystems, and her fascination with life beyond Earth. Elias shared stories from his missions, careful not to go into anything classified, but enough to reveal his adventurous spirit. Each story seemed to draw them closer, bridging the gap between two very different worlds. Then, Mara glanced at her watch and sighed. "I should get home. Leo will be waiting. It's bedtime soon." Elias nodded, a little reluctant. "Of course. I'd like to see him someday, though," he said, trying to keep his voice casual, though his heart thumped faster than it had in years. Mara's smile was warm, tinged with something that almost made Elias forget the ordinary flow of time. "You'll meet him," she promised. "If you're ready." As Elias walked back into the cool night air, he couldn't stop thinking about that simple revelation. A 5-year-old son, someone small, innocent, and yet full of potential. Someone who might change the course of his life, even without knowing it. Elias had always believed that his life was defined by stars, missions, and skill. But now he realized that human connections, unexpected, unpredictable, and beautiful, could matter just as much. And for the first time in a long while, he felt truly curious about the life waiting for him beyond the routines of duty. Somewhere in the distance, the city lights shimmered like distant suns. And in that vast, glowing panorama, Elias knew that this first date, and the revelation it brought, would be the beginning of something entirely unexpected, something that could challenge him, inspire him, and perhaps even redefine what it meant to be human. Tonight, for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to hope. The morning sunlight poured into Mara Klein's small apartment, painting the room in warm shades of gold. Elias Vance had never been in a place like this. It wasn't sleek or advanced like a starship's cabin, but it felt alive. Little toys were scattered across the floor, a half-finished puzzle sat on the coffee table, and a stack of storybooks leaned against a couch. There was a comfort here, a normalcy that Elias wasn't used to, and yet he found it oddly refreshing. He shifted uncomfortably, feeling out of place in the domestic chaos. Military life had trained him to expect danger, to anticipate the unexpected, but nothing had prepared him for this. A quiet apartment, a little boy waiting, and the weight of new responsibility pressing on him like gravity. "Leo!" Mara called out, her voice bright and full of warmth. A small figure came running from the next room, almost tripping over a toy robot. He had dark, curious eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. When he saw Elias, his expression flickered between surprise and excitement. "Mom, who's this?" Leo asked, bouncing on his toes. Elias bent slightly to meet the boy's gaze, trying to appear friendly. "Hi, Leo. I'm Elias. Your mom told me about you." Leo studied him for a long moment. Then, without warning, he ran forward and threw his arms around Elias's legs. Elias froze for a second, unsure how to react, before carefully hugging the boy back. Mara watched silently, a gentle smile on her face as if observing a small experiment in human trust. "He likes you," Mara said softly. Elias chuckled, slightly embarrassed. "I think he might like spaceships more than me," he said. Leo's eyes sparkled. "You're a pilot. You fly in space." "Yes," Elias said, smiling. "That's right. I fly among the stars." Leo's fascination was immediate. He stepped back and inspected Elias like a tiny commander assessing a new recruit. "Can you really do loops and land on tiny planets?" he asked. Elias laughed. "Loops? I can do loops. Landing on tiny planets? Well, that depends. Some planets are trickier than others." The boy's face lit up, curiosity shining brighter than any star Elias had seen. "Can you teach me? I want to be a pilot too." Elias felt a warmth he hadn't anticipated. It wasn't fear or duty. It was pride. A human pride that didn't come from medals or missions, but from someone seeing potential in him. "I'll teach you all I know," he promised. The morning passed in a blur of introductions and small routines. Elias learned that Leo had a vivid imagination, a quick mind, and a fearless approach to asking questions. He asked about alien worlds, about starships, and even about the strange creatures Elias had seen on remote planets. Mara watched quietly, occasionally answering questions, but mostly letting Elias and Leo build a bond of their own. During breakfast, Mara explained more about her life. She worked at the Galactic Research Institute, studying alien ecosystems and helping develop sustainable technologies for human colonies. She spoke with a calm passion, detailing discoveries of plants that could survive in harsh conditions and small creatures that adapted to extreme environments. "Humans are amazing," Mara said, glancing at Elias. "We adapt. We survive. We find ways to thrive no matter what the universe throws at us." Elias nodded, thinking about the countless missions he had flown, the dangers he had faced, and the people he had saved. But here, in this quiet apartment, with Mara and Leo, he felt a different kind of humanity. One that was gentle, nurturing, and filled with small but profound victories. As the morning faded into afternoon, Mara received a notification on her datapad. Her expression shifted slightly, serious, but controlled. "What is it?" Elias asked. "A report from the fleet," Mara said. "There's been increased activity near the outer colonies. Nothing confirmed yet, but it's a potential threat. Nothing we can't handle, but it might require some attention." Elias's military instincts kicked in immediately. He straightened, the old tension in his shoulders returning. "Do you want me to check it out?" Mara shook her head. "Not yet. We have more pressing matters, like Leo and making sure he's ready for school and life outside our small home." Elias nodded, though his mind raced. The universe was vast, full of unknown dangers, but here he was, standing in a small apartment, learning how to interact with a 5-year-old boy. The contrast was sharp, but in a strange way, he welcomed it. Over the next few days, Elias began to understand the rhythm of this new life. He helped Leo with homework, made small repairs around the apartment, and even joined in playful experiments with simple robotics kits that Leo adored. Each day, he found himself more invested in the child's world, appreciating the cleverness and resilience that Leo displayed. One afternoon, as they built a miniature rocket model, Leo looked up at Elias seriously. "Mom says humans are special," Leo said. "We can do anything." Elias paused, holding a tiny engine part in his hand. "Humans are special," he agreed. We find ways to survive, to explore, to make life better, and we help each other along the way. Leo's eyes widened. So you'll help me? You'll teach me to be brave and smart? I will, Elias said firmly. But bravery isn't just about flying through space, it's about making good choices, helping people, and learning from mistakes. Leo nodded, taking the lesson seriously. Elias felt a pride that was different from any he had known. It wasn't from commendations or achievements, but from the trust and admiration of a small, curious mind. Mara watched from across the room, her expression softening. She had hoped Elias would connect with Leo, but she hadn't expected the bond to form so quickly. There was something in him that resonated with the boy, something that made him more than just a friend or a passing companion. He was becoming a part of their lives. That evening, as the city lights shimmered outside, Mara and Elias sat quietly on the balcony while Leo played with a small holographic puzzle. "You're different," Mara said suddenly, her voice thoughtful. "How?" Elias asked, curious. "You care," she said simply. "Not because you have to, but because you want to. Most people see a child and think of responsibility. You see someone to guide and protect. That's rare." Elias looked down at his hands, unsure how to respond. "I don't know if I'm ready for all of it," he admitted. "You don't have to be perfect," Mara replied. "Just present, just care, that's enough." For the first time in a long while, Elias felt a sense of purpose that wasn't tied to missions, starships, or duty logs. It was personal, human, and profound. He was learning that protecting someone didn't always mean facing danger in space. Sometimes it meant being there. Day after day, helping someone grow, laugh, and discover the universe in their own way. As the night deepened, he watched Leo yawn and curl up on the couch, a small smile on his face. Elias felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. This little boy, with his endless questions and boundless curiosity, had already begun to change the way Elias saw the universe. And Elias realized something, the same qualities that made humans extraordinary in space, ingenuity, courage, resilience, were present in this small apartment, in the laughter and curiosity of a 5-year-old boy. Perhaps, he thought, the greatest adventures weren't always among the stars. Sometimes they began right here, in ordinary moments, with ordinary people, where human heart and courage could shine just as brightly. He turned to Mara, silently acknowledging the truth that had begun to take root. This life, chaotic, unpredictable, and full of small surprises, was something worth embracing. The universe could wait for a while. Tonight, humanity's greatest lesson was here in this apartment, teaching him in the simplest, most profound way that love, care, and human connection were just as vital as courage and skill among the stars. And as Elias looked out at the night sky shimmering far above the city, he realized he was ready to meet it all: the cosmos, the challenges, and this unexpected, wonderful family together. The next morning, the city outside Mara's apartment was unusually quiet. A soft hum of traffic filled the streets, but a tension lingered in the air, one that even the brightest sunlight couldn't erase. Elias had been called back to the United Earth Fleet's communications hub. The first alert of potential trouble in the outer colonies had arrived. He sat at the small table with Mara and Leo, his mind running through protocols, mission briefings, and possible outcomes. He had faced danger before, in distant galaxies and hostile territories, but this situation felt different. Here, in this ordinary apartment, the stakes were personal. "You have to go?" Mara asked softly, concern in her eyes. Elias nodded, trying to keep his tone casual. "It's just a preliminary check. No confirmed threats yet, but I can't ignore it." Leo, sitting on the floor with a small model starship, looked up. Can I come with you? Elias blinked, caught off guard. You want to come? Of course, Leo said eagerly. I can help. I know about engines and navigation. You taught me. Mara's eyes widened. Leo, space is not like playing with toys, she said gently. I know, Mom, Leo said firmly, but I want to see the stars. I want to help humans be brave. Elias looked at Mara. He could see the worry in her expression, the protective instinct of a mother who had seen the fragility of life. But he also saw the spark of courage in Leo's eyes, the same spark he had admired in countless cadets and explorers. All right, Elias said finally, a smile tugging at his lips. But you have to promise to listen. No doing anything dangerous without us. Deal? Deal! Leo shouted, pumping his small fists. Within an hour, they were at the fleet station, a sleek building of polished metal and glowing panels. The station was buzzing with activity, officers moving between terminals, alerts flashing across screens, and holographic projections of distant planets rotating slowly in the air. Elias led Mara and Leo to a secure observation deck. From there, they could see the star systems under surveillance, and the points of interest where the fleet had detected unusual energy signatures. These readings are unusual, Elias said, pointing to a glowing red blip on the display. We've had reports of increased activity near the outer colonies. It could be natural phenomena, or something else, something intelligent. Leo's eyes widened. Like aliens? Possibly, Elias said carefully. We don't know yet, but we need to be ready for anything. Mara leaned closer to the holographic display, her scientist's mind already analyzing the data. The energy patterns are irregular, she said. They don't match anything we've seen before. If this is a ship, it's unlike anything humans have built. Elias nodded. Which means we have to assume they're advanced and dangerous. That's why I came here. To see if you and Leo can handle some of the planning. Humans are clever. Sometimes ingenuity is more valuable than firepower. Leo's eyes sparkled. I can help. I can figure out the patterns. Elias chuckled. All right, Leo. Let's see what you've got. The next few hours were a whirlwind of calculations, holographic models, and strategy discussions. Elias guided Leo through basic navigation protocols and energy pattern analysis, while Mara provided scientific insight into possible alien technology. To their surprise, Leo's ideas were insightful, often suggesting solutions that adults had overlooked. Humans are amazing, Mara said softly to Elias, almost to herself. Even a 5-year-old can make a difference. Elias smiled, pride swelling in his chest. That's the point. That's what makes us human. We adapt. We think. We survive. As evening approached, the fleet confirmed the worst. The unusual energy patterns were indeed a fleet of alien ships, moving toward the outer colonies at high speed. Their intentions were unclear, but their technology suggested advanced intelligence. We have to act fast, Elias said, standing tall. The colonies need protection, and we need to use every advantage we have, our minds, our strategies, and, sometimes, our courage. Mara looked at Elias, worry and admiration in her eyes. You're taking them on? She asked. Elias nodded. I don't know what they want yet. But I do know humans can handle more than they're given credit for. We've survived worse, and we'll do it again. Leo's small voice piped up, filled with determination. Then let's be brave, like humans are supposed to be. That night, aboard the Aurora Hawk, Elias, Mara, and Leo began their journey toward the outer colonies. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, sleek, fast, and equipped with advanced defensive systems. But its most valuable asset, Elias knew, was the crew's intelligence and adaptability. Leo watched in awe as Elias maneuvered the ship through orbit, explaining starship controls in simple terms. See these panels? Elias said. This one controls shields. That one controls navigation, and that one, well, that one keeps us from hitting anything too hard. Leo nodded seriously, absorbing every detail. I'll remember everything, he said. Mara smiled. You're learning fast, Leo. But remember, it's not just about controls. It's about thinking ahead, about understanding what's happening around you. As the Aurora Hawk approached the outer colonies, the red blips of alien ships grew larger on the navigation display. Elias studied them carefully, analyzing movement patterns and energy emissions. They're testing our defenses, he said, trying to see how we respond. That's typical. But humans, we can surprise them. Leo leaned over his father figure's shoulder. How? By thinking differently, Elias said. By seeing opportunities they don't. Humans are creative. We adapt. We don't always follow predictable patterns. Mara added, and sometimes our youngest minds, the ones still learning, can notice things adults overlook. That's why we have you here, Leo. Leo's eyes shone. I can do it. As the alien fleet drew closer, Elias, Mara, and Leo began testing different strategies. They simulated evasive maneuvers, experimented with energy shields, and even used holographic projections to confuse the alien sensors. It was a combination of science, intuition, and human ingenuity, a clear example of how humans could face a technologically superior opponent without losing hope. Hours passed. Then, suddenly, the alien fleet made their move. Small probes darted ahead, scanning, analyzing, testing defenses. The Aurora Hawk responded, executing a plan that was part skill, part improvisation, and part pure human cleverness. Leo's small hands pointed at a control panel. Try this! Redirect the shields there! Elias followed the suggestion, and to everyone's surprise, it worked. The probe's sensors were confused, buying precious time for the colonies below. Mara smiled proudly. He's right. Your instincts, Leo. Humans do think differently, and that's our strength. Elias looked at the boy with a mixture of pride and amazement. Humans can be brilliant, can't we? He said. Yes, Leo shouted, grinning. As the night continued, the Aurora Hawk and its crew, human and child alike, held the line. The alien fleet, though powerful, found itself facing unpredictable tactics, clever maneuvers, and the determination of humans unwilling to surrender. By the time dawn approached, the immediate threat had been delayed, giving the colonies time to prepare defenses and evacuate civilians if needed. Elias stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars with Mara and Leo by his side. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, but for the first time, he realized that human courage, creativity, and cooperation could shine just as brightly as any star. Mara squeezed his hand. You see what I mean? She asked. Humans aren't just strong because of technology. We're strong because of each other. And even the smallest humans can make a difference. Leo beamed. We did it! We helped! Elias ruffled the boy's hair. Yes, we did. And this is only the beginning. There will be challenges, but together, humans can face anything. And in that moment, as the Aurora Hawk drifted quietly through the galaxy, Elias understood something profoundly true. Courage, intelligence, and heart were humanity's greatest weapons. The universe might be dangerous, but humans, together, united and creative, were unstoppable. The adventure was only beginning, and the bonds formed between this small family and the vast galaxy around them promised discoveries, challenges, and triumphs unlike anything Elias had ever known. The Aurora Hawk glided through the outer edges of the Orion sector, silent except for the soft hum of its engines. Elias Vance stood at the main control panel, eyes fixed on the approaching clusters of alien ships. They had regrouped, adapting to humanity's previous strategies, and now their numbers had grown. The threat was no longer a test. It was real. Mara Klein, her datapad open and scanning patterns of energy emissions, leaned closer to Elias. "They've adjusted," she said, her voice calm but urgent. "These aren't random movements. They're analyzing our previous responses and testing weak points." Elias nodded, absorbing every piece of information. "We need to outthink them again," he said. "We can't match them in numbers, but humans always have one advantage: creativity. Let's use it." Leo, seated on the floor with a holographic map projected in front of him, looked up. "We can confuse them again, right? Like last time?" "Yes," Elias said, smiling at the boy's confidence. "But this time we'll need something even smarter." For hours, the trio worked together, creating a complex plan that combined human technology, intuition, and Leo's surprising understanding of patterns. He suggested small variations in the ship's movements, subtle enough to mislead the alien sensors, yet precise enough to keep the Aurora Hawk on a safe course. Mara glanced at him in amazement. "You're thinking like a strategist, Leo. Most adults wouldn't notice these details." Leo puffed out his chest proudly. "I'm learning from the best." As night fell in the distant stars, the alien fleet advanced. Their ships moved with a strange fluidity, energy shields flickering with each maneuver. Elias, Mara, and Leo executed their plan, weaving the Aurora Hawk through space like dancers performing an intricate routine. Elias called out commands with calm authority, while Mara adjusted energy shields and recalculated energy flows in real time. Leo pointed out gaps in the alien fleet's formation, guiding them toward areas where they could maneuver more freely. It was a ballet of precision, intelligence, and courage, and it worked. One of the alien ships approached too close to the Aurora Hawk, probing its defenses. Elias quickly activated a diversion protocol, sending a holographic duplicate of their ship to distract the alien sensors. The tactic succeeded, giving the real ship space to evade detection. Leo's voice rang out excitedly. "It worked! It fooled them!" Mara nodded, impressed. "Humans can be clever when we need to be. That's what makes us strong, and sometimes even a small mind can see what adults overlook." Despite the success, Elias knew the aliens wouldn't give up easily. They were adaptive, analyzing every human move. The Aurora Hawk crew needed another strategy, something unexpected. That's when Elias turned to Leo. "Leo," he said, "you've been amazing with patterns. Can you help me come up with a trick they won't see coming?" The boy's eyes lit up. He studied the holographic projections and the alien movements carefully, pointing at several points. "If we change our speed in small bursts and switch shield frequencies at the same time, they'll think we're splitting into two ships. Then we can circle behind them and guide them away from the colonies." Elias stared in amazement. "That's brilliant, Leo. Let's do it." Mara checked the calculations quickly. "It's risky," she said, "but it could work if we time it perfectly." "Humans take risks to survive," Elias said, determination shining in his eyes. "We do what we must." They executed the plan. The Aurora Hawk shifted its velocity in short bursts, changing shield frequencies in precise sequences. The alien fleet hesitated, sensors confused by the sudden changes. Then, as Leo predicted, the fleet appeared to split, leaving a path open. Elias maneuvered through the opening, guiding the ships away from the outer colonies and toward a vast nebula that would mask their movements. The alien fleet, confused and disoriented, retreated momentarily to regroup. Mara let out a soft sigh of relief. "That was perfect," she said, her eyes shining with admiration for both Elias and Leo. Leo bounced with excitement. "We did it! We really did it!" Elias ruffled the boy's hair. "Yes, we did. And this proves something important. Humans don't give up. We adapt, we survive, and we do it together." But the night was far from over. More alien ships appeared on the sensors, approaching from another direction. Elias knew they couldn't rely on luck alone. They needed a solution that would protect the colonies and buy time for evacuations. Mara's mind worked quickly. "We can use the nebula to our advantage," she said. "It disrupts sensors and energy signals. If we lead them into it, their fleet will be slowed, giving the colonies time to prepare defenses." Elias nodded. "Good. Let's guide them in carefully. Timing is everything." Leo jumped to his feet. "I can help calculate the angles and speeds. I learned this from you, Elias." "Then you're our navigator," Elias said. "Lead the way." Working as a team, the three humans coordinated every movement. Leo's calculations, Mara's scientific adjustments, and Elias's command of the ship created a strategy that was elegant, precise, and daring. They led the alien ships toward the nebula, where energy disruptions made navigation difficult for the intruders. The plan worked better than anyone could have hoped. The alien fleet slowed, struggling to maintain formation, and the outer colonies had time to reinforce defenses and evacuate civilians safely. Elias exhaled, feeling a deep satisfaction. "Humans don't just survive," he said softly. "We thrive under pressure, and even the youngest among us can make a difference." Mara smiled at both Elias and Leo. "This is what I always believed. Humanity is brilliant, inventive, and courageous, and we just proved it." Leo beamed, proud and excited. "We saved them! We really saved them!" As the Aurora Hawk drifted quietly away from the nebula, the three looked out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, but they had shown that humans, even in small numbers, could face overwhelming odds and prevail through intelligence, courage, and teamwork. Elias knelt beside Leo, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Remember this, Leo. Humans are capable of incredible things, but only if we work together, help each other, and think creatively." Leo nodded solemnly, absorbing every word. "I will. I promise." Mara reached out and held Elias's hand, a silent acknowledgement of the trust and bond they had formed. "We are a team," she said softly, "and together, humans can face anything." That night, aboard the quiet Aurora Hawk, the three of them sat together, watching the stars pass by. The colonies were safe for now, thanks to their ingenuity and courage. But Elias knew the galaxy would continue to challenge them. There would be more threats, more unknown dangers, and more moments where human ingenuity would be tested. And yet, for the first time, Elias felt completely at peace with the idea of family, responsibility, and human potential. In this small team, a seasoned pilot, a brilliant scientist, and a brave 5-year-old, he saw the essence of humanity: courage, intelligence, adaptability, and an unbreakable spirit. The universe was unpredictable, vast, and sometimes frightening. But humans who worked together, thought creatively, and cared for each other, were capable of anything. And as the stars shimmered past the observation deck, Elias knew one thing with certainty. No matter what came next, humanity would not just survive. They would thrive. The adventure was far from over, but the lessons of courage, ingenuity, and teamwork were now clear. And for Elias, Mara, and Leo, this was only the beginning of a journey that would test them, challenge them, and ultimately reveal the true power of being human. The Aurora Hawk hovered just beyond the outer colonies, its sleek frame reflecting the soft light of distant stars. Elias Vance stared at the approaching alien fleet. This time their numbers had grown, their movements more precise, and their intentions clear. They weren't just testing humanity, they were preparing to take control. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. The colonies depended on him, on Mara, and even on Leo. But he didn't feel fear. He felt determination. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and they had always found a way. Mara Klein moved to his side, her datapad open and scanning the enemy ships. "Their formation is stronger," she said, voice calm but serious. "We'll need more than just evasive maneuvers this time. We need strategy and we need surprise." Elias nodded. "Humans survive because we adapt," he said. "And sometimes the best advantage is unexpected thinking. That's why we brought Leo." Leo, perched near the navigation controls, looked up at Elias. "Me? What can I do?" "You already know," Elias said with a smile. "Humans see things differently. You notice details adults might miss. That gives us an edge." The boy's eyes sparkled. "Okay, I can do it." Together, the three of them began to plan. They studied the alien fleet's energy signals, movement patterns, and defensive systems. Leo noticed subtle shifts in timing, moments when the ships would hesitate or adjust shields. "If we move here, then there," he said, pointing to a holographic projection. "We can guide them into the asteroid field. It'll slow them down, and the colonies will have time to prepare." Elias and Mara exchanged impressed glances. "Brilliant," Mara said. "Sometimes the smallest mind sees the clearest path." They prepared the Aurora Hawk, adjusting shields, engines, and communications. Elias briefed the small crew, explaining the plan with precision. They would use a combination of human ingenuity, unpredictability, and quick thinking to outmaneuver the alien fleet. As the alien ships advanced, Elias, Mara, and Leo executed their strategy. The Aurora Hawk darted through space, shifting speed and direction at intervals designed to confuse enemy sensors. Leo's calculated adjustments guided the ship like a master navigator. Mara manipulated the energy shields, using frequency modulation to create false signals, giving the aliens the impression that the human ship had split into multiple targets. Each move was precise, deliberate, and entirely human. The alien fleet hesitated, its ships misaligned and confused. The Aurora Hawk led them straight into a dense asteroid field, the perfect natural obstacle to slow the intruders without harming the colonies. Elias called out commands. "Hold formation. Follow the path exactly. Every asteroid counts." Leo pointed at the navigation display. "We can slip through if we go this way." Mara adjusted energy outputs to compensate for gravitational interference. "Perfect. Timing is key." With every careful maneuver, the alien fleet became increasingly disoriented. Their sensors misread the human ship's signals, and their formations broke apart. One by one, they struggled to maintain cohesion, giving the colonies precious time to reinforce defenses and evacuate civilians. Elias smiled, pride swelling in his chest. "Humans always find a way," he said quietly. Leo grinned. "We really are clever." Mara nodded, her eyes shining with admiration. "Clever, brave, and resilient. That's humanity." As the battle reached its climax, the alien fleet attempted a final push, concentrating their energy weapons toward the Aurora Hawk. Elias acted quickly, using the last element of their strategy, a decoy pulse that created the illusion of multiple ships, drawing the alien fire away. The maneuver succeeded flawlessly. The fleet, now confused and partially scattered, began to retreat, unable to understand how humans could outmaneuver them repeatedly. Elias guided the Aurora Hawk safely through the asteroid field, ensuring the colonies were secure. As the dust of the asteroid field cleared, Elias, Mara, and Leo took a moment to breathe. They had done it. Humans had triumphed, not through sheer force, but through intelligence, creativity, and teamwork. Leo bounced on his heels, excitement spilling from every gesture. "We saved them all! We really did!" Elias ruffled the boy's hair. "Yes, we did, Leo, and this shows something important. Humans are strongest when we think, plan, and work together. Even the smallest among us can make a difference." Mara moved to Elias's side, resting a hand on his shoulder. "I've never doubted that," she said softly. But watching Leo, it's something extraordinary. Elias smiled. Humans survive because we adapt, and sometimes it's our hearts, courage, and ingenuity that make all the difference. The Aurora Hawk returned to the colonies, greeted by grateful citizens and relieved scientists. Reports confirmed that the alien fleet had withdrawn, disoriented and unable to regroup immediately. Humanity had won this encounter not with weapons alone, but with the power of human intelligence, teamwork, and courage. Later, as night fell on a quiet colony, Elias, Mara, and Leo walked outside. The stars stretched endlessly above them, glittering like distant promises. The universe was still vast, mysterious, and occasionally dangerous, but humans had proven themselves capable of facing any challenge. Leo pointed at the sky. I want to fly there someday. Elias smiled, pride shining in his eyes. And you will. Humans explore, discover, and create. And one day, you'll be leading your own adventures. Mara squeezed Elias's hand, a silent acknowledgement of trust, love, and partnership. We're a team, she said, and together, humans can do anything. For the first time, Elias felt a deep sense of peace. The universe could wait. For now, he had found a different kind of adventure, one filled with human connection, responsibility, and the joy of watching someone grow. Leo yawned, leaning against Elias. This was the best day ever, he murmured. Elias smiled. It's only the beginning, Leo. There will be more challenges, more stars to see, and more ways for humans to shine, and we'll face them together. As they gazed at the endless expanse of stars, Elias realized that the greatest victories weren't always in battles or missions. Sometimes they were in courage, teamwork, and the bonds humans built along the way. Humanity had triumphed, not because they were the strongest, but because they were resourceful, brave, and united. And in that quiet moment, under the glow of distant suns, Elias, Mara, and Leo understood something profoundly true. No matter how vast or mysterious the universe, humanity could rise, adapt, and thrive. Together they could face any challenge. Together they could reach the stars. And together they had shown that human ingenuity and courage were limitless. The adventure had ended, for now, but the promise of tomorrow shone brightly, and in the hearts of these three humans, a small but powerful family, the future was limitless. Elias took a deep breath, smiling at Mara and Leo. We've done something incredible, he said softly. And this is only the beginning of what humans can do. Leo's eyes sparkled. Then let's keep going. Mara nodded, her smile warm and full of pride. Yes, humans never stop, and neither will we. Above them, the stars twinkled, silent witnesses to humanity's courage, intelligence, and unyielding spirit. And the galaxy, vast and mysterious, awaited the next chapter of human triumph.